to Kit or Miss. This is the weekly podcast where we have looked at the best kits at this year's World Cup, continent by continent. Phil and I have agreed and disagreed over our best kits. Today we're looking at the worst kits from this year's tournament. I already know we're going to disagree because there's some that I've liked that Phil won't like. There's some that Phil's like that I will mention in this pod. So looking forward to finding out your 5 worst kits at this year's World Cup. I would preface this that there's a lot of white kits. Now, you're sick of me hearing saying this, Phil, but there's a lot of white kits that I saw and went, I'm just going to discard you because it could have been a top 20 of dodgy white kits. So a lot of kits that are in this list maybe might not be the worst kits, but maybe more ones that I expected more of. So just a little bit of context for that. If you look at some and go, why are they going for that one? I expected more from some of these nations. Some of them, I just thought, what on earth are you doing? So it's been an interesting list to compile. I don't know if you found it sort of similar.
I think it is almost a more interesting discussion, your least favourite kit. So if you ask someone, their least favourite, I think you tend to get much more diverse opinions. Often the best kit discussion kind of gets a bit consolidated. Obviously, some kits, they get circulated a lot online, so people tend to be a little bit more, or they often follow the crowd a bit. Whereas worst kit discussions, obviously, if you're following a particular nation, you're going to be passionate about that. So perhaps that's part of your thinking. Or indeed, you just, again, it's very much a taste thing. It always is for football kits, but I think this list, like you've already alluded to, we've kind of teased this several times now, haven't we? How each of us have seen a kit on the others' top fives. Thought, hang on a minute, that's in my worst kits list. So I'm looking forward to getting to this one. Should be lots of good discussion.
Yeah, I also should preface, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm wearing my Scotland kit just because I wanted to wear the Scotland kit in one of these visual podcasts. It's not because I think it's one of the worst. It's one of my favourites from the Europe. But if you're watching for Scotland, they're offended that it's not deliberately planned that way. But anyway, starting us off at number 5, what's your 5th worst kit of this year's World Cup?
5th worst kit. So this is Austria's away shirt. The design here, they've kind of gone, I think it's like an Art Deco vibe. It's almost like a marble look. And Austria have had a few away kits that they've kind of been pale and sort of mint green. So that colourway, or at least the base colours, aren't completely out of sorts with what the country has done. But I don't really like that combo for them. And that pattern as well, it's not a strong look for me. I think the combination of the gold, almost like a window pane again, it has a kind of Art Deco look. With the marble, it feels like a couple of different ideas smashed into one. And I think if they'd had, discarded that gold trim or the gold lines, I'd like it a lot better. Yeah. Or indeed, you have a much flatter base, and then the lines become more of the story. It feels like two ideas overlaid onto one, and I don't really like that color combo. That mint green. Honestly, I'd trade that for almost any color, I think.
Right. Wow.
And I'd prefer it. It's not a good one for me.
Yeah, see, I think as a combo, the Austria kits are pretty bad. The home kit isn't featured on this list, but it's not. We've had discussion with the Euros. A lot of the Puma kits we struggled with getting on board with. There's just something missing. Puma going for something different, and it's not quite paying off.
Yeah, I think so. And ultimately, like you said with Puma, they featured a few times on our top 5 list, so they can do great kits. In my personal top 5 worst kits, they feature quite a lot, so they're going to come up a few times for me.
Oh, we look forward to that. For me at 5, this could be potentially one of the most controversial picks that I've made. It's the Mexico away kit. Is their white kit that they've gone for. They had the green one, which I liked, the black one, which again used the Aztec design, which is okay, and then their white one. Now you might look at this and go, it looks clean. The collars are bold, they're black and red. These are things that Matt normally says that he likes. I think for me, what has made this reach my list is how great their away kit was 3 years ago, Qatar World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the best kits I've seen, one of the best kits I have in my small collection. It's one that I love bringing out because it is so out there, so fantastic, really played into the Aztec design, the Mexican culture. So to go from an all-time kit to a very nice kit, and they have had difficulty with their kits, Mexico and Adidas. To go from that to just white, yes, clean, sleek, good-looking kit, I think it's just such a calm down. Like, obviously, you run the risk of trying to match or better the kit from before and it not working, but maybe they're just setting the bar lower for us to kick on in 4 years' time again. I was expecting more from Mexico, I think, because the home and the third kit are quite strong. They could have brought something back in, but because they've had the reception from their home kit not go down well, maybe they've decided to just play it safe, go for a kit that's going to be liked, not loved. But it's such a calm down for me from their previous kit. So for me, I've put Mexico's away kit potentially controversially at number 5.
Yeah, I think the way you said it there, that it's a kit to be liked and not loved, I think that kind of explains it. It's very safe. Ultimately, I think in isolation, it does feel quite flat. I think when next to the home shirt, it feels like it has a bit of a place because the home shirt is trying to do more. But having said that, it, given again, like you say, I would agree, recent Mexico shirts have been so much stronger. So I can see this is almost a victim of the country's own success.
Yeah.
It's not a top 5 worst for me, but I think your reasoning, I see what you're saying.
I do wonder if the home kit they submitted previously, which was a lot much more plain, if that had been accepted and approved, if they would have went more out there with this white kit. Maybe if they just went black, because the black third kit is a bit more out there. So maybe there's some different circumstance in that, but an interesting one. Mexico's kit just missing the mark for me. Phil, we're into the first of our kits that we've already discussed on our pods.
Yes.
Where are we going at number 4?
Well, we're going to, I think I described this as looking like bacteria. so at risk of offending more of our good Ivory Coast listeners. I think looking at this one again, perhaps it's a harsh placement to put it at number 3 or my third least favourite. But I must say it hasn't grown on me since we last talked about it. And I think one theme across a number of Puma kits, and I'll talk about this again in a second, but because of the slightly muted, washed out look of it, I don't think I'm on board with that, even though it makes sense in terms of not, I said this when we talked about this previously, not becoming so distracting and so kind of visually arresting. But I personally like some of those bolder colours and brighter colours. And it's almost as if for these designs, so this one being an example, like they've, if you're on Photoshop and the opacity is kind of at sort of 20% or whatever, like, that it almost feels like that. Like they could have done something more. And again, when I look at like the colour of the Puma logo, I'm not really sure. Is it like a kind of burnt orange? Feels a bit of a throwaway choice. So I reckon if they'd just brought out some of those oranges and greens, perhaps it wouldn't have offered enough contrast to the home. I think that, again, that's probably why they've done this. But I honestly, it isn't a favourite, despite, again, its placement in our top 5. For me, it's definitely one which feels a bit all over the place.
Yeah, it's an interesting. Puma's muted numbers maybe don't work as well as I think. Even on the pitch, I don't think they'll work as well. We're allowed to disagree. I quite like it. Although saying that, maybe if the pattern continue on the sleeves, I think that would be quite nice because they do just sort of stand out as being forgotten.
Yep.
But I think it's okay. For me, I don't mind it, but you don't, and that's all right.
Yeah.
That's okay. For me, I feel really bad about putting this one at number 4. It's the Uzbekistan away kit. We were waiting quite a while for this one to come out before the tournament kicked off. And both the home and away, I don't know. It feels like you could walk into a shop, maybe not with a brand, but if you were trying to get a kit for your local Sunday League club, you could order something like this online and it wouldn't be too far away. Arguably, you've got the pattern in it. I think the diamond pattern works quite well on the home kit, which is blue. I think you kind of lose it in the white. I think if you were going to bring it out, maybe bring it out in the blue as well, then so at least stands out a little bit. I think when you've got a white pattern on a white, you can lose it, and I'm not sure. I do feel bad because it is a small brand. I can't remember what the brand is. The pattern probably helps it from being higher on the list. If it was just pure white, then it probably would be right at the very, very top. But it's just missing something, and great to have Uzbekistan in the World Cup. If they're going to be there again, I don't know, but if they ever do get there, I would like to see just something a little bit more. Maybe take a bit of a risk, because it feels like they've played it safe, and even playing safe hasn't quite worked.
Yeah, for me, at least based on the pictures, I'm not sure that we need that gradient at the top of the pattern. I'd rather they just had the pattern.
Yep.
Because I think you've already got most of the chest, most of the body covered anyway. To then roll it off with that gradient feels like an unnecessary move. So I would have definitely done that. And perhaps I think this one could have done with a third color, maybe a bit of green, like in the flag. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe part of that. Maybe the pattern itself could have had more color. So it's as a kind of finished kit. Feels like they'd rushed this one out. I mean, it was one of the later ones to be released, so you can't help but feel like this was this could have had more time, I think, to marinate, so to speak, more time to kind of develop, because ultimately they could have created so much more memorable. So it's an underwhelming one for sure.
Yeah, because I think we've mentioned with Curacao and Cape Verde, nations that we don't normally see at the World Cup, they've produced a kit that's really, really nice and going to go down, and people are going to remember them for. I worry that Uzbekistan are going to get forgotten, potentially Jordan as well with their home and away kits. The third kit is nice, but they could be forgotten by playing safe. So Uzbekistan is at number 4 for me. We're off to number 3, and the first of the steamroller kits. There's quite a few of them. More potentially could have been on this top 5, but you've gone for Senegal.
Yeah, and I think both of the Senegal kits weren't doing it for me. And this one, the central pattern there, almost like a kind of kaleidoscope. It feels like that has just been sort of plastered on out of nowhere. The rest of the kit has, albeit quite a boring, but the kind of the solid block colours. Obviously, the colours of the Senegal kit. They've kind of played around. I believe often sometimes the white has been their home, I think. But regardless, the eventual pattern though feels very, very clumsy to me. I'd like to see some of the thinking behind that. Perhaps there is a more of a cultural connection than it appears, because it feels like a little bit random. And I think when you've got a pattern like this, it's you've got to really think about the colors you're using, where it is on the shirt. And I don't love the central placement. Perhaps if we'd had kind of stripes or more of the pattern in some way, it would feel better. And certainly because it's green on green, again, sometimes that works. But I feels like they've got the balance wrong there. It isn't sort of visually interesting enough to stand out. Yeah. And again, if it had more colours, I think you'd potentially go down again to we mentioned the Nigeria kit a lot, but that worked because of the contrast. And this doesn't have that in the pattern. So really unfortunate, because again, Puma kits, my favourite Puma kits have been some of my favourites of the tournament, but they've really, for me, a lot of nations like Senegal have really suffered with and quite a bad combo. Honestly, one of my least favourite home and away combos, despite the away had a bit more to it, but ultimately was quite washed out, like I talked about Ivory Coast. So yeah, honestly, really disappointing. Senegal have been great at recent World Cups, so indeed, I'll never forget their exploits in 2002. So I've got a soft spot for them in some ways, but do not like this kit.
Yeah, it's such a shame because the yellow collar is so nice. Part of me feels if they'd split almost inverted the pattern, so the pattern was on the outside, so it was just a green band in the middle where the numbers are going to be, because the numbers are going to go over that and you're going to lose that pattern. If they inverted it, put some of the yellow that's on the collar through it as well, put it on the sleeves. Little tweaks could have made this a really nice kit, but I think just the plainness of the sleeves and the outsides of it just leads it to being a little bit the potential's there, but it is a miss, isn't it? It is a miss. So I can see where you come from that one. For me, at number 3, a kit you were a big fan of, and actually, as you were explaining it, I was like, I can see where he's coming from. It's the Australia away kit. I really don't get this kit. I feel the colours clash. It feels like they've got sunburnt. You mentioned it's like Ayers Rock at the top, or Uluru is now, isn't it? Using that sort of colour base for that over the shoulders. I can see where you're coming from for that, but I just think it's I think because it's so abrupt, it cuts off just above the badge, just above the Nike swoosh. If it had gone further down with a different colour to fade into, possibly, but then that's difficult because it's not enough contrast between the home and away. So I can see why they might not have gone that. Why they didn't just go for all green, I think that might have been a better option. I think they've tried too many different things with this kit and just missed. I think it looks like somebody's got burnt shoulders, and there's a lot of talk about the temperatures it's going to be, so maybe they will go home burnt. But they're Aussies, so they're used to the hot weather. I think it's a strange combo. The green and orange combo is a weird one to go for. It's too much of a clash for me. I would have liked to have seen. I think if it was the home kit, orange into the yellow, or the gold, that could have maybe worked a bit better. I think. Yeah, it doesn't work for me. I get there's got to be a contrast, but it's strange for me. I don't think it works. So Australia is at number 3 for me. Have you got any case for an argument, or you've already said what you think about it?
I like it. I think looking from looking again at the story, I believe it was possibly more of a general sunset conversation rather than Uluru, but I liked that. And again, I'm not sure. Maybe I had read that somewhere. I can't remember. But honestly, I would expect this one to be a bit Marmite. So I'm not surprised that it's landed on the list, even though I'm a big fan. It is the kind of combination which some people are going to think, what is going on? Others will really take to it. Excited. I hope we see this one. Again, it's like a number of the away kits. If we don't see it, it's almost as if it never existed.
Yeah.
So I would like to see this one just so we can get a proper opinion of the kit, because sometimes seeing it on the pitch will either confirm or deny our feelings.
It's interesting. Before we start this episode, we're talking a little bit about shorts. So I'd be interested to see what colour the shorts are for that.
Yes.
Are they going to be the sunset orange? Are they going to be the green? Are they going to be white? What they pair it with could have an impact on it, couldn't it?
It could, definitely. My guess would be they're going to go for green and go for the monocolour look.
Sure, yeah.
But as you say, could be orange, could be white. We will wait and see.
Yeah, how exciting. So I found one from Phil that he liked, I didn't. Let's reverse it. One that I liked, you didn't.
That's it. And this one is the Paraguay shirt, which we just recently talked about on the last pod. I'm going to go back to the crayon conversation. It feels like I almost think if they did this one and kind of embrace, and maybe it isn't supposed to look like crayon, but if they embrace that style a bit more, it feels like they've kind of, the stripes, they're quite again, they have a sort of a rough and ready look. Because of the blue trim, that's quite clean and crisp. So it feels like, to me, they could have either gone a bit more down the slightly messier look,
Yeah.
and made it a little bit more chaotic. Granted, that would have probably been too risky, but as is, I just don't really don't love the look of the stripes. Stripe kits are hard to innovate on. With again, they are, and in many ways, you know, when you know you're going to get stripes kits every year, how do you do something different? Well, this is one way to do it, but it's probably one of my least favorite things. A lot of stripe teams do this. They go down the kind of they sort of make the stripes a little bit more less defined, a bit messier. So it's not my vibe. And again, Paraguay, we talked about the South American pod. They did stand out because of the colours, but ultimately, I think when you come to the World Cup, this one honestly felt quite flat. So much so that I put it all the way up. What, we're number 2 now, so very high up on my least favourite kits.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have to say it's not one for me.
Yeah, I think it's one of those that, because there's a lot of white kits, there's a lot of red kits. To get a kit that sort of balances the two of them is difficult enough. And I quite like the stripes. I like the fact they're unfinished. But I think the fact they're still in the sleeves makes a big difference. If they'd left it unfinished, not in the sleeves, then it would have been a bit of a calamity. But yeah, we've agreed and we've disagreed throughout this World Cup series. So very hard. I'm surprised at how high it's gone, but I can see your logic behind it. It definitely seems to make sense. For me at number 2, I've gone for Tunisia away. Now you're a fan of the sleeve work on the Tunisia home.
I think it might be the other. I think this might be the home.
Is this the home? Right.
I think I might be wrong on that.
So the Tunisia white kit. Let's go for that way. The white kit. You like the red kit with the feathered wings. Really nice. This one, apparently, it's olive branches embossed onto it.
Oh, right.
The fact that you cannot tell that it's meant to be olive branches just goes, well, what's the point? What's the point in embossing something? And we've seen it with quite a lot of kits. I found the embossed kits more difficult to get on board with. But if you're going to have a story that's about your culture, about your heritage, show it. Like put it in white, even if it was at the bottom part of it, bottom third. Do it. I also think it's Kappa, isn't it? Their logo is way too high up, as is the badge. They just seem to be really high, which makes me think: are they going to show something else there, or are the numbers going to be as high? Or are they just leaving space for all those FIFA badges we spoke about? I just think it's just missing. It's missing something. It's as close to white as you can get. It's got the red trim on the collar and the sleeves, which redeems it slightly, but with the other kit being quite nice and going for a design that kind of works, to go for an olive branch design that if you didn't know it, you wouldn't see it. Just go for it. If people don't like it, they're not going to like it. But I think they've missed an opportunity. If you're going to tell a story, tell it well. And I don't feel that Tunisia have done that with this kit.
Yes, it's reminiscent a bit of the Uzbekistan kit with that similar idea, white base and a pattern. But that pattern feels, again, like you said, it's almost you can't really see it very well, and it's a fine line, like you talked about with the embossed kits. But it's a similar conversation. Some people will like the subtle patterns, some won't. And I think for me, I would like this if it was embossed in the kit, though it would still feel quite safe. As is, I don't think, as far as I can tell, it looks like it's a print. And again, if it isn't, then that may change my perception. So I'd like to see this one on the pitch or in person. Definitely quite underwhelming though. So I don't hate seeing it in a list like this.
Yeah. It is tricky. Before we get to number ones, I had some honourable mentions, or dishonourable mentions, I suppose. Switzerland's away kit. Neon green. I can't work out if they're trying too hard or they've just completely missed. It seems to be a real pendulum swing between like and dislike for me, and I still haven't figured it out. I
Yeah.
suppose it would look good in a nighttime game.
I was thinking,
where the
I
lights
like,
are low.
yeah, that's the one place I could see it. Nighttime or training, maybe.
Yeah, but I don't know if they've just tried too hard, but I gave them the benefit of the doubt, so I missed out on this.
Yep.
Brazil away, we mentioned on the last pod, that was very close to making my top 5. And the Iraq home kit, I'm not a fan of the green number. I think they missed there. I haven't got the picture of it, but I saw it and went, it's green, great different colour from what we normally see, but it didn't quite work. So some dishonourable mentions for me. Was there any kits that could have made this list that were close, but no cigar for you, Phil?
Oh, good question. I'm pretty sure there were some Puma ones that I missed out on. Thinking of the likes of the Austria home, which you mentioned Austria already, that was another close one for me. Elsewhere, I think off the top of my head, no, honestly, that one's the one that comes to mind.
Yeah.
So there was a few that honestly, like, because of having so many kits.
Yeah.
I think it was hard to narrow it down to 5, but yeah, there was a lot of options. So I think there is.
Yeah, well, because there's over 100, isn't there? Because there's 96 home and aways, and then some have got third.
And there's a few
so
thirds.
it's one of the reasons why we split up top 5s over so many weeks. But it does make it tricky when they're all lumped in together. Some that maybe you feel that shouldn't be on this list, other ones that should be. Let us know on socials and below in the comments, and kittermisspod@gmail.com. Phil, we've reached your worst offender. Where are we going?
Well, we're going to Haiti. So we talked about the was it the white kit, wasn't it? And this one is essentially the same pattern. This is the home, I believe. I might be wrong, but I believe it's the home kit. Again, without wanting to repeat ourselves too much, the skin tight look, possibly just because of the way it's been rendered and presented. But regardless, either way, when I see this kit, I don't. It feels like that pattern there. It could have been done in a much more effective way. It's so restricted on the kit. Dare I say, it's almost as if they've kind of like they've added a bit of clip art. It reminds you of those days. This is taken back to school days when you go and find a little graphic. Okay, stick it on. That's perhaps too harsh, and I'm sure this has represented some important moment in Haiti's history that I'm probably dismissing. But the whole, all 3 of the kits, of course, have this pattern. None of them worked. The white one was the best of the bunch, given the way the pattern had a chance to stand out. But this one, I don't like the centralized crest on a lot of kits. That does work. It feels like we didn't need that here. And ultimately, the rest of the kit, even for example, the different coloured sleeves, I'm not a big fan of the slightly different blue. I'd probably rather have a single blue, although that would be quite simple. I think because the pattern on the bottom has a lot going on, for me, you feature that more, you simplify the sleeves. I probably wouldn't even bother with the collar as well, but regardless, honestly, this one, we said this before, I want to see this on pitch. If it's that tight, in some ways, if it's that tight, I'd almost like it more because it would be so funny. It would be that Italy Euro 2000 moment, wouldn't it? If they were super tight. I honestly, this one is one I wouldn't want to add to my collection, but we will see. We will see.
If it is that tight, you wouldn't want to do a shirt swap, would you?
You
feel really bad about
I don't think you could you?
It's really interesting. So I like the white one. I don't mind the blue one. The red one was the more egregious for me because they had the red collar on the red kit, the red trim on the red kit, the red banner on the. But I can see where you're coming from. Totally, I can see why it might not be popular. It's a divisive kit, and the fact they've gone for the same pattern over the 3 kits, some people like, some people won't. So it's it'll be interesting if it is as tight as it is rendered in the photos. For me, this was the easiest pick that I had. It is Norway's away kit. Now, some people might be like, what are you talking about? I never got on board with the all black trend. I thought it was a really weird trend that got boring fast.
Yep.
And that was, 4 years ago, maybe?
Yeah.
It's been around for a while. Everyone's done it. They've moved on from it. Norway at their first World Cup in a long time have an amazing home kit that is beautiful. I would love to see that go deep in the tournament. Their away kit is the all black out kit. You cannot see the badge on it. You cannot see any. I just feel this kit type has had its moment. Mm-hmm. I do get it's difficult, like for Norway to invert the colours. It's going to be similar to their Scandinavian neighbours, so that makes it a little bit trickier. You can't go for a white with the cross. It makes it tricky. You've got to think outside the box a little bit more. But they've I don't feel they've even thought outside the box. They've just gone back to, we had this one left over from when we thought it might qualify for Qatar. Can we recycle it? Even if the badge was in white, in silver, the all black out kit had its moment. They could have made a nod to it. I just feel there's so much more that they could have put into it. Just a little bit of colour in there. Yes, it wouldn't have been all blacked out, but it could have been something different. Yep. There must be something in Norwegian culture that they could have added onto the sleeves in silver that would have been nice. Something. I mean, there's a huge outcry for Vikings and the Scandinavian sort of TV programs that are out there. There could have been something they could have put on there that just made it stand out a little bit more. And if they did, it wouldn't be on top of my list because it would have been something, an additional piece that would have made it nice. It could have got into the top 5 of my European list. It would have been harder to because it was a very tight list, that one. But this one, it just feels like it was in the box already and they've just gone, we need to think outside the box. Let's not bother. Let's recycle what's there. I know you really liked the blacked out theme when it was around.
Yes.
So for you, how do you feel about it coming back when it's past its prime?
No, I actually agree. Though this wasn't on my top 5 worst, I completely agree that this feels very late to the party. I really do. I think you were spot on that, we had blackout kits became a thing and they got very popular. Perhaps the most popular trend outside of maybe black and gold. That trend was so ubiquitous. We saw it club, country, all levels of football. So this feels not only it feels extremely late, like you say, and ultimately, I think it's the kind of kit where, given the home shirt as well, they had ultimately room to do something quite interesting because the home is traditional in the sense of it's got the flag. So to just dip into this very obvious trend, you could, I guess there's an argument to say because we're so almost past the trend that it's almost because it's quite rare now to have a new blackout kit. Maybe people could argue that it's almost that it kind of in some ways it stands out more now than it would have done 4 years ago. But I think it's the other way around. I think it is late. I think it does feel like basically I would agree as if they could have had a similar kit. Recent Norway away kits have been quite interesting. They had the Iceberg kit, which is very popular. Obviously, they didn't qualify. I can't remember if that was the World Cup or the Euros, but regardless, they didn't. That didn't get its moment at a major tournament. Whereas this one, ultimately, I would still expect some support for this one amongst the masses, so to speak, because blackout kits are popular for a reason. The reason they got popular is because you can wear them with anything.
Yeah.
They're quite often popular with a younger audience. But yeah, I honestly, I think you were spot on with the analysis. It feels very, honestly, it feels like late again. An idea which was popular and has come and gone. So for them to go back, and for a team with, again, a lot of high-profile players, a real shame. And ultimately, Nike, they've had a rocky time as a whole. But it's a shame that Norway ended up on the wrong end of the picture.
Yeah, I just as we're saying that, the only thing I think they could really do to redeem it is if they really commit and make the names and numbers black. but
I like that.
with a thin white outline, so they're almost
Okay.
so you don't really see the name, just the outline. That could
That's fun.
swing it the other
I'd
way.
be surprised if people would
But
let them do it.
I just
like
don't
the
see
idea.
it, because if you add white onto that, you lose the impact of it straight away, don't you? So that could be one thing that could swing it back into favour. But I think with a trend like this, you always want to be the first, not the last, chasing the tail.
It's like, I think of, there's a Norwegian team, I think it was SK Brann. They had a blackout kit with iridescent details, and it looked great because it was a blackout kit. But obviously, you had the kind of the Northern Lights story, so it was way more interesting. And that was a Nike kit as well, actually. So this feels like, again, if they'd have done, even if they'd have done that, granted not an original idea, but I think a much stronger idea than just black.
Yep.
I like your idea for numbers. FIFA are notoriously picky for stuff like numbers, though, aren't they? So, but who knows? Maybe they do it and they just get fined anyway.
Yeah, it's one of those that I think if they'd done it 20 years after the blackout trend and brought it back in, you go, oh, well done, Norway, for bringing it back. But
reminds me,
it's too soon, for my opinion. So let's rattle through our 5 worst offenders of this year's World Cup. Phil, remind us your top 5.
So we had Austria, thank you. Austria away, followed by Ivory Coast away. Then we had Senegal, followed by Paraguay's home, and off with Haiti's shirt.
Yeah, and for me, Mexico's away, then Uzbekistan's away, Australia's away, Tunisia away, and Norway's away. Or we're not sure if it's Tunisia's home or away. We're a bit split on that as well. But interestingly, a lot of away kits there. Normally, I'm a fan of the change kits, but obviously not this time out. If you want to get in touch and let us know the worst offenders from this World Cup, in your opinion, do message on socials, drop a comment below, drop us an email, kitormisspod@gmail.com. We're almost at the end of the World Cup, so next week Phil and I are going to be back, and we're going to be talking about the best kits we've seen, and some of those were quite gutted we didn't actually get to see on the pitch because teams didn't go that far, and review the World Cup as a whole as well. Big thank you to Proverb Media for putting us up in the studio. Great work that the team have done, so thank you to them. And Phil, thanks for your company as well.
Thanks, Matt. It's been a lot of fun, and enjoy the games.